Guys, low-key, the Library of Alexandria just fell, and it's all TikTok and Discord's fault. Hey, it's Ali. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Y'all, we need to have a talk. XBATO, well-renowned manga, BL, manhwa, webtoon, piracy site, just got taken down, like permanently. Now you may be asking, why does this matter? Piracy websites get taken down all the time, and you would be correct, except for the fact that XBATO was like the piracy website. It was probably one of, if not the biggest piracy website, specifically for reading manhwa, manga, BL, and the like. And also the way that it got taken down spells a little bit of trouble if we, yes, we, don't get our collective fandom asses together. So let's talk about that. If at any time you like this video, please give a like and subscribe because I make videos like this all the time. And comment down below if you knew what XBATO was, if you cared about the whole thing getting taken down, how you feel about piracy and fandom, because that's really what we're here to talk about today. And of course, don't forget to hit that hype button, and all of my social justice type stuff links will be in the description as always. Thank you so much, and let's get into it. So what exactly was XBATO? For those of you in the audience who are like, girl, what is this and why should I care? Let me tell you. XBATO was a piracy website where you could read re-uploaded scans of pretty much anything from like traditionally published manga like One Piece all the way to fan-made doujins of your favorite ships. Anything in between, it was there. But especially for BL, GL, whether that be traditionally published BL and GL to, again, the more obscure like doujins and things like that. At some point, if it was on the internet, it was on XBATO. Now, I need you to understand that piracy websites are obviously not new, okay? I'm sure you've seen the old LimeWire anti-ads, you wouldn't download a car, etc., etc. And anime and manga are not the exception to this. Like many kid of the early 2000s, I was watching Naruto in multiple parts, Spanish subbed on YouTube. All right, and that was piracy. I was a child watching anime on suspicious websites with hentai ads on the side, and I still do sometimes. Now, why was I doing this specifically as a kid? Because back in the days of the early 2000s, yes, I know, prehistoric. Anime was not yet mainstream in the West, specifically in America. And so trying to find reliable sources to watch anime, legal or not, was a fruitless endeavor most of the time. I think people forget that the reason why a lot of piracy places exist is just accessibility. Like, why do you think I was watching Spanish subtitled Naruto on YouTube? Because if the United States could barely get proper dubbed or even subbed anime, other countries sure as hell were gonna have a harder time doing so. Now, this is right before streaming became like a really, really big thing, so I had to dig to find even the most popular animes like Naruto. I remember one of the first websites to even host any type of streaming service for anime was Hulu. And this is back in the day when Hulu was just like a really it was still like kind of a sketchy website. However, Hulu had like almost every catalog of Viz anime that was online at the time. And of course it came with the fact that you had to watch like multiple ad breaks in between each episode. Now back then when cable was still like the dominant force, this was kind of normal. So I would sit there and watch hundreds upon minutes of ads just to watch a couple of episodes of a show because I was used to doing that on cable, right? We didn't know the glorious things of being ad-free just yet, but I put up with it. Why? Because I was a kid who had no money and very niche interests at the time. It's really crazy to think about how niche anime was as an interest back then. I had niche interests. I wanted to watch my favorite shows and this was the only way to do it, so I did it. And you may be like, well then why, even if you didn't have money as a kid, why didn't you like try and save up to try and get like the box set DVD or like whatever? I don't know if you know this about collecting physical media, specifically anime and cartoons. I don't know if it's changed now since the early 2000s, but back then, if you wanted to get a DVD of your favorite cartoon or your favorite anime or whatever, and you were somehow able to find it at your local Borders, remember Borders? Yeah. If you somehow were able to find it there, they would sell them as DVDs in like 6 to 7 episode increments. So not by arc, not by season, but by 6 to 7 episode increments. The tuning exams, I'm gonna go find this, but I'm pretty sure the tuning exams from like Naruto. Okay, hi, hello. So this is me editing this right fucking now. And I was like, let me fact check this. So I was like, the Naruto tuning exams are 48 episodes, right? Episodes 20 to 67. Now I looked up like a random box set of like Naruto. This is on eBay, right? Random box set. This is like just box set number 5. This holds episodes 53 to 65. The entire tuning exams runs from episode 20 to 67. That means, if my math is correct, that you would have to buy, I think the first like maybe 3, 4, and 5 of the box sets to get the complete tuning exams. And that's not even the rest of the tuning exams. Like, I don't know if it was just the way that anime was handled in the States and just exported over to the States, but like, chopping something up like that, especially the tuning exams, which like is one full like saga into many different box sets just for then the next box set, because this ends in episode, what episode did this end on? 63, right? I said, yeah, it ends on episode 65. That's 2 episodes before technically the tuning exams end. So then you have to go buy the other box set to see the end of the tuning exams and then to go to the next one. You see what I'm saying? And so you would have to go buy 5 or so, or however many, like, DVDs. And if each DVD is like $20 to $30. Yeah, you see how that can add up over time. And they also do this with One Piece. I don't know how anybody's expected to get the physical box set of One Piece. No more knowing if your friend has an Xbox that makes them rich. Now, the real way to know if your friend was wealthy is how many DVDs of cartoons did they have. Because I know friends that have a huge movie collection, but if you have a huge TV collection, oh girl, you were rolling in it. So whatever, I turned to pirating right back then. And even nowadays, I still do kinda sometimes. It really depends on the show and where it's being offered. Crunchyroll, the giant behemoth that it is, my friend pays for it. And so most of the time I just watch it on Crunchyroll, but I'm not obliged to some, dubbedanime.net every now and then, Is that even still up? Is that website even still up? Don't let me know. Don't say so in the comments, because we'll get to all of that in a second. Now, what does this lovely story of childhood crime have to do with XBATO? Now, I'm sure you've been paying attention because you're smart and I love you for that, but I just listed a bunch of ways why pirating is honestly legitimate. Case number 1, accessibility. If you're poor, a child, or you live in a country where this stuff just isn't accessible to you, pirating sometimes can be the only way that you get to read, view, whatever, any of this type of media. Even nowadays, some Chinese manhwa is just not available to the wider public. Legend is only in the last couple of years gone really on the public's radar as the place to read Korean and Chinese BL and GL and stuff like that. Okay, you guys want to know a fun fact about me? For the longest time, I did not know that Legend had straight couple stuff on it. I'm not joking. I only found out very recently because I was just looking for something new to read, and I was just scrolling, and I finally, because I never usually go to the explore page or whatever of Legend, and I don't know if Legend has an algorithm that knows that all I want to do is read BL and GL, so that's all it recommends to me. But I finally went on the explore page to look for something, and that's when I saw the top comics at the time were these straight ones, and I was just I didn't even know that was on there. I really didn't. I wish I was joking. Because usually I'm reading something that someone else has recommended, and so I just go straight to looking up that thing and then go to the app or whatever. Anyway, my point is though, even on Legend, which is the biggest site so far for reading BL and GL, especially from East Asian countries, right? If you are a person who doesn't want to upload your stuff onto this website, because we'll get into it, Legend kind of being the only website is kind of problematic. But if you don't want to upload your stuff there, it can be very hard to get that stuff to an audience, especially for free, right? Even if you just I just want to upload this for free, unless you get famous on Instagram the way that 19 Days did or whatever, it's gonna be really hard for you to find the audience, at least outside of your region, to read your comic, right? So case number 2 is enshittification, aka the purposeful degrading of services and goods by companies for the sake of saving a few couple dollars, right? Think of streaming services now deciding that you can't share your password with anybody else so that the other person is forced to make a new account and pay for their own Netflix subscription. Or the fact that Hulu, again, who has been around for forever, if you get the base package of Hulu, you still have ads, right? You can't go ad free unless you get the top tier, basically, package of Hulu, right? But however, back in the day, streaming seemed to be this great alternative to cable, because cable, you had to pay for all these packages and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. And then streaming was supposed to offer an ad-free, seamless, and cheaper version of watching your favorite shows and movies. And look how that turned out. That is peak textbook in shitification. And of course, as we talk about anime and webtoons and stuff like that, webtoons as an app has just degraded over time, right? We'll get to them in a second. And of course, stuff like Crunchyroll being what is essentially a monopoly on distributing anime to the rest of the world. And then of course, to shitify their service, they've decided that for some of their anime, they're going to use AI for subbing and dubbing. Like, not like there's been an entire culture of people fan subbing and fan dubbing anime for years, especially ones that are more niche and obscure that don't get the like royal princess treatment, right? No, right. And it's like the only service that you can legally watch anime outside of like, you know, Japan and things like that. Yeah, okay. No, yeah, okay. And you wonder why people are still on dubbedanime.net. Okay, right. However, even though I just listed all of those legitimate reasons as to why someone might be pirating something, it's a little bit different when it comes to webcomics and comics in general. There are a lot of differences to pirating and why or why not you would or wouldn't pirate for something like a webcomic versus like something like a video game or a TV show. So number one, even though video games often have, like, especially indie games have smaller teams, webtoons and comics themselves, especially online comics, are usually just like one or two people, like max, right? You may have an author, you have an artist, sometimes the author and the artist are the same person, and then you may have like someone doing background or someone doing translations or editing or something like that. It's usually like less than a 5-person team. So all of the money that goes to them goes directly to them. And it's the same with indie like studios and indie games and things like that as well. However, sometimes indie studios have a route of publishing. So similar to the book world, video games often have like publishers. So you could pitch your game to a publisher and then they give you either an advance or they might just help you with marketing or something like that. It's different depending on the video game, depending on what your needs are, etc., etc. But regardless, that option is there. And while bigger comics do have options of publishing, both indie and traditional publishing, web comics are kind of different, where it's like the only publisher places really online right now is like Tapas, Webtoon, and Legend. All three of these places require their viewers to pay for constant, almost like a asynchronous subscription service almost, where it's like you have to pay to read each chapter. And so you're paying, you have to buy coins. And you actually can go on a subscription service with some of these places. I know Webtoon and Legend has it where you can just like re-up your coins every week or every month or so, whatever. So you're paying a subscription service, or you can pay as you go. Either way, you have to keep paying money to the service in order to read this comic, right? And of course, these comic places aren't known for having the best workplaces. I'm going to suggest you watch this video, highly suggest you watch this video by XBATO Kid. They are one of my favorite artists. They make a comic, web comic, and also traditionally published, called Covenant. It's so good. I have the first volume in print, and I also read it online, right? Read it. But also go watch their video where they talk about what it's like publishing a webtoon under Webtoons, right? Like, it's horrible. It's horrible. And not so many words. It's horrible. And Webtoons takes a very large cut. I'm sure all of these places take a very large cut. If you want to make money off of your comic, kind of like Etsy almost, where Etsy has all of those fees. Ask me how I know. Shop available now. Okay, I was getting tired of the Vine boom, so boom, bam, wow, oh my god, it's so cool, boom, hog, oh, wow, look at that, wow, oh, awesome, so amazing. But like, it's the same way where it's like Webtoon is going to take all of these fees, but in return, what was supposed to happen is Webtoon gives you priority, right? They market your stuff for you. They make sure that your stuff is being pushed out there to new viewers, etc., etc. But that wasn't happening in not so many words with XBATO Kid's Covenant webcomic. Again, go watch that video, right? So even if you want to go support like the original creator in their comic and read it properly and legally, you're getting fleeced by these companies, and in turn, these authors are also getting fleeced. Like, at least if I knew that all this money that I'm spending on this comic is going directly to the artist to keep doing their thing and they're getting a full-time salary to be able to continue to make this webcomic, but they're not. They're not. So it's really hard to then be like, yeah, I want to go support this creator on Webtoon, because who knows if they're actually even seeing that money or not, right? However, on the other side of this, piracy websites do indeed make money and the authors see none of it. So at least on Webtoons, you're getting some money, but on piracy websites like XBATO, you're not seeing any of that money. And XBATO was making money. Again, see all the hentai ads and all of these ads. I've been on a website before where they were like, watch this ad so you can have 7 minutes of ad-free viewing. Great, awesome. And so XBATO was absolutely making money by selling ads on their websites. And so yeah, while you may be a little bit like, I don't know if I want to support Webtoon or pirating a Webtoon where the money goes straight to the author, even if it is just a little bit. However, most indie studios and authors understand that pirating has kind of like, I don't know what type of graph it is, but it gets to a point where you're big enough or you understand that word of mouth and sometimes making a fan out of somebody is worth more than trying to get them to pay for your thing right up front, right? There's another video I'm going to point to about why pirating is actually very ethical, and in it they talk about the people who made Hotline Miami, which is an indie game, and this game was just like banned in Australia, I guess, for like violence or something like that. Again, go watch the video. But they told their Australian fans, hey, if you want to play this game, we want you to play this game, pirate it. Like, if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. And I feel like most artists, myself included, kind of understand this, right? If somebody in another country legitimately does not have access to my stuff, then yeah, go ahead and pirate it. I would not care. Like, however you need to get the thing, because it's more important that you are part of my community, that you are a fan of my thing, because you can support me later. You can buy merch. You can support my next Kickstarter. Maybe you can't support me this time, but by the time my next Kickstarter comes around, you can support me. I actually pirated the very first FNAF game when I was a kid. Like, uTorrent, back when that was a thing, I pirated the very first FNAF game. And while I never finished it because I got scared on night 1, because I was also like at that age where I thought creepypastas were real, and because I downloaded an illegal copy of Five Nights at Freddy's, I thought that like Five Nights at Freddy's was real and was gonna come knock down my door or something and like kill me. So I never finished the very first night of Five Nights at Freddy. But obviously, I am a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. I buy Five Nights at Freddy's merch. I have plushies somewhere. I went and saw the movies. Now that I'm older, I'm actively spending money on this franchise and giving this franchise money. If I did not have access to this game as a kid, there are people who like watch like other people play it, and some people think that's a form of piracy, but that's a whole nother conversation. But if I had not pirated that game as a kid, who knows if I actually would have cared long term about Five Nights at Freddy's, right? And now I am an older adult. I'm not an old adult. Oh my God. I am an adult, period, who has the money. Well, I don't got the money right now, but like, you know what I mean? Like, when I do have money, it is something that I want to spend on, right? And so it is more important that I become a fan of this thing, especially long term, rather than it is to get my $10 or however much like FNAF was back then, right? And then of course, one of the biggest reasons why people pirate is just because I speak again about enshittification, but also just a servicing problem. Once again, the only places you can read these webtoons and read these BLs and whatever is on Webtoon the app, Tapas the app / website, and Legend. Like, these are the big 3, right? And if your comic is not on there, it's going to be very hard for anybody to find them, right? And this is a servicing issue. And on top of that, you have to spend money in order to read some of these comics. I start reading some of these comics, I read the previews, and I'm like, it's still not enough to decide. Like, a couple chapters of a comic sometimes is not enough to decide whether or not I want to buy it or not. And so I can't decide whether or not I want to buy it. There's no like renting system, or just like, hey, like maybe if there was like a subscription service or just a one-time fee of like, hey, I want to read the first 10 chapters of this comic to see whether or not I like it. Like a library system where you borrow it and then you read it and then you decide whether or not you actually want to buy the rest of it or not. And I have noticed that because of this preview system, BLs and just comics in general on these websites have changed dramatically, because they know that the first couple chapters sometimes are free. It's usually only 1 or 2 chapters that are free on these websites. And so they will cram so much into these first couple chapters. And then once you pay for more, the pacing like evens out. And honestly, I think that hurts the comic in the long run, because I'm expecting this like breakneck pace. They're doing the do every single chapter. Like, that's what I'm expecting. And then of course, like, you actually want to slow down and start talking about plot. You actually want to start developing these characters. But because the first 2 previous preview chapters were not that, I'm sitting here as an audience member almost gonna drop the comic, right? And I've noticed that a lot of BLs will do that on Legend because they kind of have to. They're like, oh, here's the hook, here's the gimmick, here's the reason why they're boning every single fucking chapter, and I hope you like it. Please, if you want like actual plot and not just, you know, porn, you know, like read my comic. And it's like, I wish there was a way to kind of like mix that together. But this website, like, because I have to pay for things after a certain amount of chapters, the author is almost forced in a way to make sure that I'm like really into it. And that can be very detrimental to the comic itself. And I haven't decided, like, maybe, okay, these first couple chapters of them going at it is cool, but like, where's the plot, right? Like, where's the plot, if there is plot? Or is the gimmick enough to get me through? And then again, when the comic comes out, is the gimmick going to be kept up forever and ever and ever? For some comics, the answer is yes. For some, the answer is no, and that's okay. But now I don't know what I was expecting out of this comic, right? And I feel like that hurts the comic in the long run. And so therefore, the service itself leads to worse outcomes, right? There's this wonderful quote by Gabe Newell, and I'll put it here. This is also the reason why Steam is technically a monopoly, right? Like there's barely any competition for Steam. Like we have the Epic Game Store. Like who's buying games off the Epic Game Store? Like I think they force you, if you want to play Fortnite, you have to download the Epic Game Store. That's the only thing you're doing. That's the only thing you're doing, right? Steam is like the place to play games right now. It has the prestige, it has the, I guess, like history and stuff to back it up. And it's just a great service, and it continues to get better. And if they ever shoot themselves in the foot, it'll be a hot day in hell, I guess. Like Steam is just a really good service. And so because of that, people don't mind. People are more likely to pay for games legitimately through Steam than go pirate them somewhere else, because Steam is such a good service. All of the things that are integrated into Steam, achievements, Discord, talking to friends, all this other type of stuff, right? Like all of this stuff integrated into Steam is what makes it such a good service, that people don't really mind that it's a monopoly and there's not really much competition, because there's no need for me to seek out any other competition, right? And of course, the same thing goes for like Nintendo 3DS pirating. To this day, people are like, you need to mod your 3DS. You need to mod your 3DS. I actually have my 3DS right here. You need to mod your 3DS because it is the only way for you to play games that you wouldn't have been able to play otherwise. And that is the truth. I want to mod my 3DS. Now, granted, it's not going to be this 3DS. I think I'm just going to buy a new one because I just have nostalgia for this one, and I kind of want it to stay in the condition that it's in. Kind of like scrapbooking almost. Like I just want it to stay in this condition. But I do want to pirate a 3DS because there are so many games that I did not get to play as a kid because I was buying like discount. Hold on. Is it in here? What game is this? Oh, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Anyway, I have like discount games. Maybe I'll go through it one day. I was buying like games at the discount bin at Best Buy, all right? So I wasn't getting the newest and latest greatest Pokemon game all the time, or I wasn't getting like all of the Zelda games I've like never played. My only Zelda game that I've ever played is Breath of the Wild, and I have Breath of the Wild 2. That's it. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, those are games I would love to play, but I can't anymore. There's literally no legal way to play them unless you buy the NSL service, which is an extremely expensive service that like not everyone has access to. And so if you want to play, and not all Nintendo 3DS games are on there anyway. So if you want to play Nintendo 3DS games, really the only option for you is pirating. And that is a service issue. There are tons of people out there who would love to play these games legitimately, but they can't because Nintendo said no. And girl. But of course, to all of this, I wanted to ask you guys in a forum, of course. Also, some people asked if I have to be subscribed to my Patreon. No, Patreon just gets first access to my forums, and their forums get like guaranteed read out here on this video. But outside of that, I do post my forums on the YouTube like community posts. I'm also thinking of like starting up the like community thing so you can make your own posts for suggestions and stuff like that, and maybe tell your own stories and things like that so other people can see them. Let me know if you guys would be into that. And then also I also post on like my Instagram. You should go follow me. You should go follow me on Instagram. On Instagram and places like that, so you can find them there as well. I never used XBATO because I don't read. I know that sounds bad. I don't read like at all. I listen to most things usually, but I will say, I think people complaining about other people promoting the site, they have a point. Not all sites have the power as much as Pirating Bay over there. So I feel like some things are better kept secret and should spread via word of mouth, not via actually promoting it and putting it in front of Miss Lawyers. It was definitely a case of it getting a lot of people on social media who aren't familiar with the idea that you shouldn't advocate these sorts of sites on public forums and keep it in DMs. Because of this, I feel like the site itself got a little bit of an ego and pushed its advertising far more than what is safe for a site like this. I was saddened by this one in particular because I have used it for years, and it was one of the few places I enjoyed the discussion in the comment section. I hope it serves as a lesson to all those who publicly advocated for it to be a little more on the down low in the future. Now you may be asking, what are they talking about? It getting really popular? TikTok? Like what's going on? Now let's talk about the fall of XBATO. As I stated before, XBATO was the one-stop shop for BL, GL, manhwa, whatever, like dojins, fan dojins I saw on this website, right? It's so funny watching a bunch of BL and GL and latest webtoons right next to like One Piece, but like that was just the type of website that XBATO was. Like they had BL, GL, straight people, impreg, One Piece, and if no one got me, I know One Piece got me. Can I get an amen? And as you can see in this screenshot, they had stuff being uploaded in real time. There was a legion of scanners and uploaders waiting for the newest chapter of anything and everything, to the point where people were waiting on XBATO to update instead of the actual author, which of course isn't always a great thing. Number one, you can make an account on this website. And so if you wanted to bookmark something or keep something like a tab on where you read something, you can make an entire account on this website, again, adding to its legitimacy as a website for you to constantly come back to. There was a comment section where people could comment and talk about the stuff, which led to it having a very, very large community. And lastly, and the thing I think that brought it down the most, was it had a Discord. Yeah, it had an official Discord, which you could join through the official XBATO website. So it was run by this website where you could talk about your stuff. Now, Discords about BLs and JLs are not new, like just fandom community Discords, not a new thing. But the fact that this was run by the website itself, promoted by the website, means that they wanted you to come to XBATO to have this community experience. I think the problem with it getting mainstream is that there were so many people who were starting to use it, and honestly, this is how many good things end, but that's a different discussion entirely. I think the fallout of XBATO comes with its loss of popularity on social media, especially TikTok, where it blew up. I do truly believe that it's also appropriated to some people just trying to go with the crowd, aka LARPers, who just wanted to be relevant and ended up ruining the whole thing, like it getting viral on TikTok, which is so dumb. I'm not saying gatekeeping XBATO was a good idea. I'm just saying that if you were going to do something stupid like publicly let people know, hey, I do this, and then it goes away simply because you couldn't keep your mouth shut, then there's really nothing we can do about it. So all these TikTokers getting mad, well, yeah, it's not a big deal, but it's just one example of how going big isn't always the best in some cases. Sigh. When I discovered XBATO, I was so glad that I even created an account, which I never do when pirating. I genuinely loved it. No matter what I was looking for, old or new, it was there. There are mangas that I would have never read, stories that I would have never experienced if it wasn't for XBATO. I might be taking it too serious, but when it got taken down, I honestly felt really sad. To me, it's not just about mangas, it's about art, culture, and media that we lost. Probably for good too. I don't really know what happened exactly regarding how it all happened, but I just feel disappointed that money and greed win so often. Instead of trying to find a way that would prevent deleting millions of manga, they just pulled the plug and moved on. Sad to see that the community that was built there got wiped out because the comments on XBATO made reading more enjoyable. The amount of amazing recommendations I read thanks to the comments and community there can't be replaced. I've seen a lot of pirating sites fall, and while I don't feel attached to the site itself, I am sad about the loss of community. I personally don't agree with it being the best site because, like any other pirate site out there, there were inappropriate ads, viruses, and risks of personal data being leaked. But the community of fans was the best part. Now I find this very interesting because yes, there is an element of there being some manga on there. I know I have a friend who, when this all went down, was like, wow, there was a manga, a BL manga that I read from the 90s on there that I literally cannot access otherwise, right? And people were talking about on Twitter and on TikTok about how these stuff that is literally inaccessible anymore to the public, like we're talking about like mangas that are just not being published anymore, and unless you live in Japan to go scour the streets to go find this obscure BL manga, you're probably not going to have any other chance to read it, which is a shame, and then it becomes lost media. So this place that was hosting a lot of this, what would otherwise be lost media, is now gone. And people talk about why, and I talked about like it getting super popular, but a place where it got super popular is TikTok. As TikTok goes, we cannot have nice things, especially when TikTok gets involved. There were a lot of people, big accounts and small accounts, promoting this website. Essentially, if someone would ask, oh my god, you're talking about this manga or this BL or whatever, where can I read it? And they were like, well, I read it on XBATO. And this doesn't seem like it is a big deal. And when you are a smaller creator, it really isn't, because like realistically only a couple hundred people are watching your videos. However, when there are multiple legions of smaller creators doing this, and then eventually some bigger creators who also say, hey, I read all of my BLs on XBATO because it's a free pirating website, well then yeah, it's gonna get super, super popular. We had videos being made where people were actively talking and promoting a BL or a manga or whatever, and then at the end of it being like, go read it on XBATO now. Like, you're almost being sponsored by the website. I don't think anybody was actually being sponsored by the website, but that's how it felt sometimes when people were actively saying, go read this now on XBATO, instead of being like, hey, go support the official release. And we talk about fandom etiquette on this channel, and we talk about like the mainstreamification of fandom is a video I want to make. It'll probably be my next video. But people who come into fandom for the first time do not understand where they're supposed to do things. Like I said, Legend only became popular in the last couple years. I distinctly remember looking up a specific like comic that I was looking for, a specific BL, and Legend was not the first thing that popped up. And sorry if I'm pronouncing Legend wrong. Like, I don't know how to pronounce it, but like, I'm saying Legend. But that was not the first website that popped up on Google. And so the first thing that popped up was either TikTok, Tumblr, or Instagram. And so where the fuck am I supposed to read it? And I'm looking up where to read, blah, 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 blah. And I just don't know. Now, eventually I did learn, and Legend did become bigger and bigger and bigger. And that is the official place to go read a lot of this stuff. But back in the day, and I mean back in the day, I only mean like a couple of years, it was very hard to even find these official websites in the first place. And so a lot of fandom etiquette and a lot of unwritten fandom rules comes down to where to find these things ethically. Where to find these things if I do want to support this all legally. Where am I supposed to go? Where am I supposed to find all this stuff? A lot of us don't know, right? And so instead of like telling people, hey, this is where you go find these stuff, like places like Legend and things like that, instead they were being like, just go read it on XBATO because it's easier and everything is there, right? Instead of telling people, here's how you can go find fan dojins and support the original author's works, like on, was it Rakuten? Like all of these Japanese like manga like buying websites actually have a lot of fan dojins on there, and you can buy them. I have a whole like bunch over there from a specific anime. I may talk about them soon because I think this anime is getting a reboot. Finally, I don't want to jinx it, knock on wood. I don't want to jinx it, but I think it's getting a reboot soon. We'll know by the end of the month, and I just like, please, 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 please. Anyway, that's another story for another day. Katekyo Hitman Reborn, if you know, you know. Okay, I thought I'd do a quick little dojin haul here because honestly, I gotta show y'all. If y'all want like an in-depth of what all of these are, let me know. They all are in Japanese, but these were all like $3. Just gotten off of like, not Rakuten, Mercari Japan, y'all want to sponsor me? Hey. But all of these were just gotten from like these Japanese like buying like websites, and they were all like $5 or probably less than that because this is only like a couple pages long. Piece de Resistance. This was a zine or like a artist collaboration where people did a bunch of different artists of my favorite character from Katekyo Hitman Reborn. Exactly. I rest my case. But I have some like BL dojins over there that I bought from like Rakuten, Mercari Japan, and I bought them straight from Japan, and they were really, really cheap, right? And so even if people want to support these things like legally and like ethically and actually support the author directly, it's very hard to do when you're not talking about it. And instead of talking about, hey, this is the website to read this legally, it's, oh, go to XBATO. And so that became like a really big thing on TikTok, is people saying, go on XBATO, go on XBATO, go on XBATO, instead of being like, here's the way to officially support this. If you can't, well, there are other ways. Like back in my day, I know, but back in my day, when you wanted to read something legally, you would just DM somebody and be like, hey, I know a website where you can read this for free. Let me DM you. And instead of doing that, it's, I'm just going to make a post on TikTok where I didn't know this thing was going to go viral. I hate when people say that. I know you don't, but like you're also posting something. When you post something publicly on the internet, you have to understand that one person could see it or a million people can see it, especially on TikTok. And like, I understand, like, you just made this and you were just responding to somebody. You could have just DM'd them. But instead of DMing people, again, as we used to do back in the day, they just made TikTok after TikTok after TikTok after TikTok, most of which would go viral. And then, of course, more people would know about it. And so now you're actively acting in competition with regular official websites, and that is the wrong thing to do. When it comes to, for example, selling fan art, I sell fan art, right? But me, my little piecemeal me over here, selling a couple stickers here and there, keychains, prints, whatever, even fan books that I make, is not going to be in direct competition with Naruto or even Deltarune for that matter, right? And most authors and companies know this, which is why they allow fan works to happen. However, the second you try to do something that is in direct competition at a large scale with the actual company themselves, that is when they will make a move. Pirating has existed for years and years and years and years. This is not new. A lot of companies kind of just turn the other way, except unless you're Disney or Nintendo. That's a whole different conversation, the stuff that they do, right? But most companies turn the other way because they understand what is more important is facilitating community, right? And having these people as fans because they're more likely to go buy merch later or whatever, right? We talked about this earlier. However, when you then decide that you are going to treat yourself as a real company, basically with all these different avenues of advertising, even though they didn't like sponsor any TikTokers, like I say, to talk about XBATO, it didn't help, right? It certainly did not help. It gets to a point where the companies feel like they need to step in. And that's exactly what happened. Kakao, who owns Webtoons, I'm pretty sure. Wrong. Webtoons is not owned by Kakao. It's Navir that owns Webtoon. Same thing though. There's same thing going on. Decided that they were going to finally go after XBATO legally. And XBATO can't do shit about it because why? They're doing illegal stuff, right? Like it's all hush hush under the rug and most people look the other way. Most people don't care. But these companies decided you have taken enough money from us, aka you're making more money than we deem like good for you to take all of our viewer base from these websites like Webtoons and stuff like that. Because you're making money off of it, again, the ads and stuff like that, and we're not seeing any of that money. You have made enough money, or we feel as though you have made enough money, where we are now going to sue you. So from this website by The Verge, the XBATO operator, the person who runs the website, got arrested. Yeah, they were released on bail, but like they got arrested. Okay, so this is serious shit going on right now. And they believe that XBATO as a website was making over $57,000 USD a month. That is a little over $500,000 a year that you are making on this website, supposedly, reportedly, right? And so obviously over the course of multiple years, that's millions and millions of dollars. So it is no wonder that they were like, I think we have a case here, right? If we can get together that you're making this much money and you're not really being secretive about it at all. Yeah, there's a reason why they went after this website specifically rather than other pirating websites. And it's simply because this website decided it wanted to be very, very visible to the public, actively advertising itself everywhere instead of just, and of course TikTok obviously didn't help, but instead of just being like, we're here, you know, not even, again, word of mouth is a powerful, powerful thing. You did not need to advertise yourself. You don't need to have a fucking Discord. Duh. Because of course that meant that people were very easily able to track down the website's owner and of course get them arrested, as I said. So therefore XBATO is now gone. They're not even going to risk it. XBATO goes down sometimes and usually they just get uploaded on a different website domain, etc., etc. This time they're just completely gone. In fact, if you look up certain BLs, XBATO's website will still show up in the search results. And if you try to click on any of them or any of their subsidiaries, it'll just give you a 404 error. So why should you care? Like you may be like, okay, there's another pirating website down the block. I really don't care. Yeah, it sucks that the rest of these obscure mongers are gone, but at least I can still read my webtoons on this other obscure website that I know. Why should I care, right? Well, you should care because this could easily, very easily happen again. TikTok is a website where people go viral all the time for saying the most random stuff. Like I said, I doubt that any of these people thought that they were going to get super duper popular talking about BL or their comment was going to get a lot of hits or likes or responded to or whatever, yada, 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 right? To this day, people are still like, here's a list of websites that are an alternative to XBATO. And it's like, are you a psyop? Are you a sleeper agent? Are you a CIA agent? Because like, why are you promoting these websites after we just went through this whole rigmarole where everybody was like, hey, do not promote these websites out in the open? It's really odd. It's giving psyop because a lot of people are just doing it for attention. A lot of these people are children who are doing this stuff for attention, and that's just the way TikTok goes. Like any bait is good bait, whether it be rage bait, good, is there any such thing as good bait, hope bait? Is that even a thing? I doubt it. But people, attention is attention on TikTok, and so people will largely just do stuff even though they know they shouldn't be doing it. They will do it anyway. Again, are you a psyop? There were also some people out there who were like, well, you shouldn't have been pirating in the first place and it's your fault for pirating and blah, 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 blah. And in my next video, when I talk about the mainstreamification of fandom and things like that, I'll get into the whole purity culture of it all and how that's also driving us it's a whole different thing. But like, people, again, TikTok is very hard to take seriously because there are so many people on there that just say things for the sake of attention, for the sake of rage bait, for the sake of getting you angry. Same with Twitter, right? And so it's very hard to take what people say on here seriously. But if you are seriously believing, well, you shouldn't have been pirating anyway, I hope that this video, especially the beginning of this video, really told you why people pirate things in the first place, right? I think it's a very privileged take to be like, you're a bad person for pirating. Again, purity culture will be the death of us. Yes, yes, yes. Like, yes, I, who used to be a working adult, had the power and the money to go buy these things legally. And most of the time I did. Like I said, I watch most of my anime through Crunchyroll, even though I'm not paying for it, right? I read most of my manga through either the Kodansha like manga app or through the Viz manga app, right? And those are subscription services that I have to pay for, but they are so low, like in terms of price, even though they've been going up over the last couple of years and it annoys me, but like, whatever, I still read them legally, right? But I'm not going to get on somebody else's case for not doing that, whether it's because they can't afford to, or they live in a place where it's not accessible, or they just don't want to. There are so many reasons why somebody would or would not want to support a big giant company when it comes to official releases. And in that way, a lot of people were attacking really popular TikTokers and tried to have this like moral high ground. Again, I'll get in more into it later, but it's like, you should care because again, a lot of your favorite media could be gone at an instant because a company said so, whether that be on the official website itself or a pirating website. Like, we should all be gunning for the archival of these things and of these pieces of media, whether that be physical or otherwise, right? And you trying to stand on some moral high ground does nothing for nobody. I love pirating big corpus, video games, indie games, not so much. I think as time goes on and technology moves forward, pirating is necessary to preserve things. Like, if we're being honest here, would you want Pokemon Black and White to be lost media, or even worse, pay God knows how much to play it? Like, I find the Fire Red and Leaf Green situation kind of scummy on Nintendo's part. It is fair price, but just make it free in my opinion. Or if we want to use IRL terms, would you want the future of the Rosetta Stone to become lost to time? It sucks that it has to be this way, but in this landscape, it's one of the only downsides that piracy has, is that it's not an official outlet and is subject to copyright takedowns. I consider it genuine competition to official outlets, and even though I usually prefer official outlets when they are genuinely accessible. When it comes to bigger companies, they tend to have higher standards of how accessible things should be, which means a lot more tend to fall short, and it always seems to be the smaller indie creators that, even though I would be more forgiving of poor accessibility, usually have better accessibility anyways, and makes piracy not really an option I consider in most cases. I feel like it's important to give back to the things that you think are worth it, but that's often not possible financially. Pirating can sometimes be a way around supporting a larger company you don't like. I personally don't have a moral problem with pirating, but I don't have much experience with it. Sometimes it's the only way to get a hold of the content you want. Heaven forbid anyone wants a new copy of an old Nintendo game. Obviously, it changes if you're pirating from a small independent team, which I think is less okay. I assume at least one person rightfully bought the content and is sharing it, which, yeah, I borrow movies from my siblings, but the insanely large scale certainly makes things more complicated. Pirating is definitely a big part of fandoms, especially since most fans would rather watch/read something for free over paying for it, which is completely justified. But I think with the way that things are going to modern society, pirating is never going to go away. Evidently, it's not ethical, but that stops nobody, including me. As this person so nicely put, and I'll put the rest of their message up here, I think it is very important that piracy is a part of fandom. There's a lot going on in fandom, more than people think. It's more than just like to watch two boys kiss or like shipping or whatever people tend to think fandom is nowadays. It's a lot more than that. And I think a lot of people just don't want to do the digging to find the history that is fandom, to know all that goes on here. Piracy is a part of fandom for literally every single thing that I just named here, and it's not going away anytime soon. So what can we do so we hopefully can never go through this again, though Lord knows we will? Number one, of course, like I said, do not just go posting on TikTok or otherwise where people can go find piracy websites, okay? Whether that be for music, whether that be for fan works, fandom, whatever, just don't do it. Don't do it. Instead, if you know a website and someone asks you for it in the comments, just DM them. Simply, just DM them. Be like, hey, I'm gonna instant message you. Open up your fucking messages if you want this website, okay? Like, there are ways to get around this, you know, password protected documents and things like that. But like, dear Lord, like, don't just make it as easy as going on to TikTok and be like, where could I watch Love is Blind for free online, blah, 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 blah. Please, even at least if it's on Reddit threads, there's a little bit more digging that you have to do there. there. Don't just be posting stuff on TikTok like that. I beg. And also, if you're the person looking for this type of stuff, do your own research. I promise you, doing a little bit of research can go a long way. There is someone out there who has probably have an entire list of ways for illegally and legally that you can probably read a lot of this stuff, okay? So doing your own research, 5 seconds of Google, not ChatGPT, Google will do you wonders in this life, I promise you. I think a lot of people are just used to having everything at their fingertips and everything being super accessible all the time, as what, you know, TikTok and stuff usually has led to. However, there are still some things that are gonna be harder to find, like international comics and things like that. And it's okay, I promise you, you'll be fine if you have to Google something for like 10 minutes. I promise you, you can do it. I believe in you. And lastly, of course, that is support the official release when you can. There are going to be times where you can't. There's going to be times where you'd rather, you know, spend your money on something else than support a big, huge company, even if you know that money is going to go to the creators at the end of the day. Find other ways to support these creators. Let them know that, like, don't let them know. First of all, don't let them know that you're pirating their stuff. I didn't mean it like that. I said, let them know that you support them. Okay. You don't need to let them know that you're pirating your stuff. That's also another thing too. If I'm a creator, don't tell me that you're pirating my shit. Just do it, okay? Like, just do it. I don't need to know about it though, okay? And stop getting into fights with people who have only been in fandom for like 5 years. Like, if you started joining fandom spaces in 2020, please do not talk to me. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you did, you are a real one. I don't know what is going on with fandom online lately, but there's just been so much to talk about, and this has kind of just been the tip of the iceberg for me. Next video is definitely going to be about the mainstreamification of fandom. That's literally going to be the title of the video. I just have so much to say about, like, I guess a heated rivalry part 2 kind of like how Fujoshi is now a mainstream word. Like, dude, I have so much to talk about. So be on the lookout for that form. Obviously, if you want your submission read out in the video guaranteed, there's a Patreon section, and if you join the Patreon, you can do that. Here are all of my Patrons now. At our little yapper tier, we have Safara, Raccoon's Treasure Trove, Mushi, Grey P, Venti, Adrian N, Soup, Yosef, Luna L, Leela L, Gianna M, Jester, Mal G, Vivian M, Basil, Aaron, and at our average yapper tier, we have Nana B, Alyssa B, Furby Bunny, Scout, Arapaima S, Twilby, and at our big time yapper tier, we have Oddling, Tybee, and Covalence. Thank you so much. Otherwise, you can just be on the lookout for this forum either in my YouTube community or on my Instagram, so go ahead and follow me there. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts about all of this mess down in the comments below, and hey, I will see you in the next episode. Love and peace.